Moving on to part 2 of your interview, let's get into mental health and growth. How did being incarcerated affect your mental health?
My mental health. It took a toll on my mental health because it took a toll on my mental health because, okay, I'm gonna say it like this. Imagine being confined to, what is it, a 6x6 room, a 4x4 room? The room is small. So imagine being confined to this room and you can't do anything outside of that room. It has to be done in this room for a certain amount of hours. And so you're stuck with reflecting. At least for me, that's what I use that time for, reflecting, journaling. And I realized that, like I said earlier, I was taught to never share your personal business. Whatever's bothering you, keep it inside. So now all these things that's in my head, I'm in this room and I just keep thinking. My mind is going a million miles a minute. And I'm just like, you know what, let me just jot it down on paper. And I feel like for me, I didn't realize how much of a difference journaling can make to your mental health, because it's, no, I'm not telling my business to you or you, but I'm getting it out some way, somehow. So mental health for me was like, I would like to think of it like a jar. And you know how you catch fireflies and you put it in a jar and they're confined to this jar. So my mental health for a long period of time was confined to a jar, and I had no way to explain to somebody like, hey, I need help. Or I didn't know how to explain that to anyone until I got to prison and I was able to be released from that jar.
What did you learn about yourself during that time?
Oh. I learned that for all those years that I thought I was just this angry young lady, I just wanted to fight and just curse people out and do this. I learned that all those things were outlets for my anger, for what was really bothering me inside. I learned that it's okay to talk to people. It's okay to let people in. But I also learned that you have to cherish all your relationships that you have. I learned that in a blink of an eye, everything could be swiped from under your feet. I also learned that you have to cherish the little things, and you have to love on your people, because like I said, there's going to be a time where you may never see them for whatever reason it may be. But the most important thing was always remember to put yourself and your mental health first.
What has been the biggest challenge since being released and re-entering society?
I would say for me, I was embarrassed of coming home and people saying, oh, that's the girl that just came home from jail, or just like the incarceration conversation, period. Even doing this is very hard because I'm scared about what people are gonna think. Yeah.
And how do you feel about the way society treats formerly incarcerated individuals?
I remember going on a job interview when I came home a couple of months ago, actually, and the job interview went so well. And have you ever been in a I don't know about anybody else, but during the interview, while we were talking, the interviewer asked me, like, how do you feel about working with people with drug abuse history, people with mental health history, even people with formerly incarcerated history? And I just got quiet. And I got quiet because it's like, wow, like I'm a formerly incarcerated person. So when people are being introduced to us, is this how we have to be introduced? Do we have to be introduced as a warning, like, hey, this is what's happening? So it kind of made me emotional, and I started getting emotional, and she's like, why are you crying? Like, did I say anything wrong? And I just literally like blurted it out, like, I'm formerly incarcerated. And the whole entire meeting just changed. It went from being, wow, great answer, wow, to whoa. So and things like that don't help, especially with the fact that I'm already ashamed. So encounters like that obviously doesn't help. But, yeah.
So what are your hopes and plans moving forward now that you're on the other side in the real world?
Well, for starters, I'm in college right now, finishing up my degree. I would love to become a mentor to young women that are currently doing the same thing I was doing and that didn't have someone who went through this experience to tell them what they should and shouldn't do. I also want to continue doing hair. But my main passion is to find little girls and mentor them, because I wish I had a mentor that experienced what I experienced.
If you could go back, is there anything you would have done differently?
No.
What advice would you give to someone who's going through or has gone through a similar experience?
Somebody wrote me the other day. I posted my story on TikTok and Instagram, and somebody wrote me and was like, oh, like, wow, I've been waiting for somebody to say something like this, because I was previously incarcerated myself, and I just, like, mentally, I just feel like I'm under a rock. And I told them, and this may sound cliche, but I told them that what always helps me is listening to gospel music and praying. Because I feel like at that point, yes, I know I said earlier, journaling helps you release every thought that you have in your head. But I strongly encourage people to pray, because yes, I'm privy to having people in my life that are prayer warriors, but you have to put the work in for yourself. And when you pray and you get that cry out and you tell God how you feel, it no longer feels like you're carrying that burden by yourself. And it's easy to say, oh, my grandmother could pray for me, my mom could pray for me, but they have their own burdens that they're carrying. But when you pray and you just let it out, you feel like, wow, like I'm not the only person carrying this rock on my shoulder. Yeah.
How do you feel you've changed as a person from this experience?
When I tell people that I believe I needed to go to prison, they look at me like I'm crazy. And I say that because had I not gone to prison, I don't think I would be even a fraction of the person that I am today. Prison has humbled me. Prison has made me appreciate the little things. I've always been a loving, affectionate person, but now I'm overly affectionate, I'm overly loving, because I remember times where I wanted to hug a loved one or I wanted to hug a friend. I remember there was a time where my friends wouldn't call me for advice because they knew if they were ever going through something, the first thing I'd say is, let's go fight. Let's go argue. And now it's changed because now they call me for sound advice. And that, I think that to me feels even more, that to me feels really good. And even my family, when like we're having a disagreement amongst my siblings, or my mom is like scolding us or whatever, and the parties involved don't understand, I'm the mediator to say like, you know, like it's not that deep, like calm down, it could have been worse. So for me, that's a lot, and it means a lot to me because there was a time where people would skip over my name.
Now we're coming to the ending of this interview. Do you want to give your subscribers one word to close out this video?
Tranquility.